You've just landed on the Coolest People in the World podcast, a show that features stories of cool people doing really cool things. From business, art, and travel to lifestyle, mental health and family, and everything in between. Join host Krystle J. Bailey as she introduces you to some of the coolest people in the world. Here's Krystle.
Welcome back to the Coolest People in the World podcast. Oh my goodness, I am so excited about today's guest. Please, before I even introduce you, just welcome to the show, Justin.
Oh, thank you, Krystle. Thank you for having me.
We were just talking before we got on, and the way in which we met and the things that we've done since. And for you to be a text away and say, Justin, you want to jump on my show real quick and for a little interview, and you were eager to get on. It's just an honor to have you here, and I'm really excited.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here with one of the coolest people in the world.
Well, I'm only trying to keep up with you. So my friend Justin, I was going to lead with it because this is the most exciting part right now for me is Bad Boys 4. Like, just featured in Bad Boys 4. He's been featured in the Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He's a published international model, actor. He's a feature in an upcoming film. He's so many amazing things. And we didn't even touch the meat and the juice of what we're really going to talk about today, which is the fact that you are a transformational coach, which we'll unpack what that means. So all these beautiful things, I just wanted to start off with the excitement, but I want you to kind of tell the audience, tell me a little bit about who you are now, where you come from, a little bit of your backstory, and we're going to unpack some of these exciting things.
Okay, well, from New Jersey, same area as you in Galloway, Egg Harbor City, New Jersey. And I guess we had humble beginnings. I was raised by a hardworking single mother, and we had a bunch of animals in the home, and just a pretty normal childhood, playing sports and just being with friends. And moving forward, I kind of went into college studying exercise physiology and nutrition, and I was pre-med at the time, really wanting to become a doctor and really help people with their health. My junior year of college, my mom unexpectedly passed away, and just kind of had a spiritual awakening in that year, just waking up to, do I want to go down the medical route? And I eventually transitioned into runway modeling that year, did a bunch of runway shows and magazines and all of that. And I really wanted to kind of step into acting. So that's been my path as of late, has been auditioning and booking roles and working on really cool projects. And that's where I'm at right now, is really just wanting to inspire people with really great art and great films.
And you are, every time I see one of your posts, I'm like, you gotta go, Justin, because you are really doing everything that you set out to do. And then the way in which we met was kind of crazy. So
yeah, we connected with an older couple, Tony and Rosemary. And
you
Tony,
tell the story, because I've seen it 100 times from my side. I want to hear from your side now.
Well, I it's kind of a blur, but I remember meeting Rosemary and Tony, and I was just kind of fascinated by them because they're an older couple. They've been together for decades, and I wanted to learn about that and hear about their story. And Tony was a veteran, and he passed away, and rest his soul. But there was that energy kind of happening, and then you were in the cafe too, and we all kind of just started gravitating towards each other. And you sat down with us, and you tell me about your book, and I got a chance to read through your book, and I was inspired by that, and that's kind of how our friendship started. Was that encounter?
Well, I have almost similar, but a little bit different, because they knew you first.
Yes.
Because I same thing. I was fascinated by them. What happened was I went to get coffee. This is at BAM and Mays Landing, by the way. I went to get coffee, and Tony was sitting by himself, and he must have been like 90. How old was he? He was like 90. And she was like 80 something. And they were sitting in the bookstore together, the cafe. And I said, "How are you today, sir?" And he was just so vibrant, so happy to be alive. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was something, it just took me back so much that I was like, "What is your name? Like, hi, I want to know you. Who are you?" And then Rosemary comes back, and she's just fascinated by me and finds out I'm a writer in my book. And then you walked in that day. And they were like, "Oh, that's our friend Justin." And they were like, "You guys would love each other."
Yes. Yeah. I was trying to put pieces together. I was like, how did this all work? But I remember, yes, okay. Yeah, and my gosh, what a beautiful couple, and rest in peace to Tony.
Yeah, yeah. Rosemary came to a barbecue at my house once. It was pretty fun. I have a picture of me like hip bumping her dancing.
Oh, oh, good, good.
Uh, but I remember you were like having them over for dinner. We were both moved by them, I think. And I think that's kind of what drew us together. Um, which is interesting because of where we're both at now on our journeys, however many years later, is, we find each other again on the journey through life. And now you're doing all these amazing things. And I happen to have a podcast called The Coolest People in the World. So back together we are for another conversation. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't I on a podcast that you started or something at Stockton?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that was that podcast no longer exists, but yeah, I think
Okay.
that was, yeah, when we first started, when we first met. I had a podcast at the time, and it was,
Mhm.
we chatted for a little bit, and I don't know if I don't know where that audio file's at. We got to find.
Well, I was laughing because I was like, what did we talk about? I was like, I have no idea. But then I was like, we did smoke in the car before we,
Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know what we talked about either, but
but it
it's
was
on
somewhere.
some it's somewhere. Yeah.
So anyway, so fast forward now, you are acting and modeling and coaching and healing. You also just biked across America. So
Yeah, yeah.
let's start off there, and I want to talk a little bit about acting, and we'll go into some
Yes,
other.
of course. Yeah, so we cycled across America in 2020. So this was during the global pandemic that occurred, and about a year or two prior, I was just on a trip with my buddy in Italy, Isaac Sullivan, and he was an Army veteran. He was in the military for 6 years, and we just happened to be on this trip, and we were at a hostel in, I want to say it was in Venice, and or the Amalfi Coast, one or the other. But he had his laptop up early. He had a GoFundMe set up, and I was like, "What are you up to?" And he's like, "Dude, I met this guy in Utah who wants to bike across, or he biked across America solo, and I want to do it. I want to raise money for Army veterans." He invited, and then at this point, he invited me. He's like, "Do you want to join?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" And we kind of we went back to our respective homes. I was living in California. He was living in Florida, and he immediately started training. And I was pretty scared, in all honesty. I was very nervous about the entire trip. And long story short, we started in May 14th in 2021, and we hit the ground running from Tillamook, Oregon to Tybee Island, coast to coast, roughly about 4,000 miles. And we ended up raising, I think, close to $13,000 for both of our charities, which was really, really fun.
So what
So,
charities did you raise the money for?
yeah, I raised money for the Work Done Charities Foundation. They're based here in Atlanta, and they help single mothers with down payments on their homes or furnishing their homes. And then Isaac raised money for a charity that supports families who have fallen, people that have fallen or died in the military. So basically giving assistance to those families. And we raised, I think, in total close to 13,000 for.
That's beautiful. That is so. How long did it take?
It was 71 days in total. So it was about 60 miles a day. And we were on the bike pretty much 6 days out of the week, 4 to 5 hours a day, just biking, just going,
I
just
love
going as far as we could go. And then the seventh day on a Sunday, we would typically take a day off.
I remember you telling stories. Didn't you like stay with people or you had a flat tire? I'm trying to remember some of the Facebook stories you were telling at the time, like of the journey.
Yeah, we came across some really great people on the ride that would just stop, and they would give us water bottles. They would ask if we needed a place to stay. So we had a lot of angels on the ride, a lot of people that were just willing to help out and support. In Georgia specifically, we met a Georgia Tech cyclist who was cycling for the Georgia Tech team, and we stayed at his place for 2 days. And just so many hospitable people all over the world, and we felt that.
So
We felt the love.
kind of, I don't know if this is a weird question or not, but like, what did you do with your brain the whole time? Like, were you listening to music, podcasts? Like,
Yeah, a little bit all of that. At this time, typically uh, the way I like to talk about the bike ride, anybody can do it. It's really about, a lot of it's mental, a lot of it's about the mindset. And I really learned on this journey. There were in the beginning weeks, the first few weeks, we were really physically destroyed. We didn't train too much for this, and we were really physically beat up. And I already had a meditation practice prior to the bike ride, but at this time, I really kind of had to pull out all the tools, all the stops to kind of get through some of those days where the body was really beat down and we had to go, you know. So at that time, I really had to learn the power of visualization, the power of mental rehearsal, the power of emotions, and how we can use our thoughts and our emotions to get us to anywhere in our lives, no matter how tough the challenge is. So a lot of the bike ride was mental. A lot of it.
That's yeah, I love so is this kind of what led you to what you're doing now, or were you doing the coaching that you're
Well, right now, Krystle, I'm not really coaching too many people. I don't really coach right now. I've been
okay.
mainly focused on film, but in the past, I would coach people on nutrition because that's my educational background. I would help people with nutrition. I would create exercise regimens for them, and then also the latter portion of when I would coach would a lot of it would be mental. A lot of it would be about incorporating some type of mindfulness
Mm,
meditation practice to help people create, not only the body that they want, but also the life that they want. You know.
yeah, I love that. So is there one thing in particular on the bike ride that really you feel like served you the most, like a tool that you could share?
Yeah, yeah. I think like I said, it was probably about week 2, week 3 on the trip where I was really hesitant. I just didn't know if I was gonna physically be able to make it, and I didn't want to let Isaac down. You know, I would a lot of it was like the accountability, like that's a big lesson is having somebody on your team that you could, hold you accountable to get you
Mm,
through. But I really started to use meditation. I would wake up 15 minutes. We would leave pretty early for the bike ride, but I would do a 15-minute meditation, and all I would do is I would visualize, mentally rehearse us at the end of finishing the bike ride.
mm,
So I would visualize us in Tybee Island with our tires in the water. What would it feel like if we raised a bunch of money, we helped out a bunch of people, we inspired a bunch of people, and we accomplished, a physical feat that is really challenging? How would I feel? I would probably feel very inspired. I would feel gratitude, a lot of love for life. And all I would do, I would close my mind, close my eyes. I would put in a guided meditation, and I would just tune in for 15 minutes or so and just try to feel that and
mm,
visualize that. And on the scientific end of things, we can go into this more throughout the show, but on the scientific end of things, those elevated emotions, they heal the body. So
mm,
gratitude, love, joy, inspiration, those emotions in the body, they're creating a chemical cascade that heals the body. So a lot of days I would try to maintain that emotional state as I was riding. I would just try to keep my mind, wow, look at all of the nature that we're in. Look what we're
yeah,
doing some really cool stuff. And those emotions can heal the body and help recover the body a lot quicker. So
I
that
love
was
that.
a big lesson. Yeah.
I love that. Oh, before I move on, the bike, the tires in the water. What is the symbolism behind that?
Really just signifying the start and the finish of the ride. So in Tybee or Tillamook, Oregon, we're hitting the ocean there, basically saying, hey, we started the ride on this side of the coast. And then once we finished up in Tybee Island, it was like touch the tires there and to pretty much signify, all right, we're done. We biked
I love
across.
that. I love that. Congratulations. That's pretty dope in itself. We're just getting started.
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you.
So all right, I want to talk Bad Boys. What is your role in Bad Boys?
Yeah, I played a police officer in Bad Boys. I was a featured role, no lines or anything like that, but you'll see me in one of the scenes with Will Smith. He's making a phone call in one of the office buildings, and he's kind of coming out. And I was, the PAs are there, and they're kind of telling us, all right, you guys move this way, move that way, and so the PA tells me, all right, like when Will comes across here, I want you to walk this way, and so it was so surreal. That morning we had a pretty early call time. It was like 6 a.m. and we get to this building and we're kind of getting geared up and hair and makeup and whatnot. And we're kind of lining up inside the room where we're about to film, and Will Smith walks through the elevator door, and he's kind of walking right towards me, all I could do, I didn't know what to say. All I could do was just shake his hand and say hello and nice to meet you kind of thing. And
That's so
uh,
cool.
yeah, so cool. And then, we got to shoot that scene. And I honestly, I wasn't expecting to see myself because a lot of those clips, they get cut out, in the editing process. But
Yeah.
at the movie theater, seeing myself walking right behind Will it was pretty cool,
Oh, I can't wait. I'm
really,
going to
really
see
cool.
it again.
Yeah, you guys, you'll love it. It's I personally really like in the movie Martin Lawrence. I won't spoil it for anybody, but Martin's character has a near death experience, and throughout the movie, and I'm really fascinated by this stuff in my personal life, but throughout the movie, he is kind of sharing some wisdom that he learns from his near death experience. So I think it's very
Okay.
soulful, very soulful.
Soulful sounds good to me. I think that's kind of the core of this beautiful conversation is just following your passion and learning along the way. And just, I really love the points of view that you share about life through all of it. You're not just doing these things, you're really living these things and sharing that.
Yeah, well, a lot of my intention with kind of going into the acting field, it's such an unknown territory where like there's no A B C D and it'll get you there, to where you want to go. It's really such an unknown path. And really, a lot of my intention with pursuing acting and getting on some of these big projects and sharing it with people is not to say, hey, look at me, look what I accomplished.
Right.
It's really to show people. I'm really big on the power of the mind, the law of attraction, whatever you want to call it. So a lot of what I share with people is to hopefully inspire them and show them that no matter where you come from, what background, what upbringing, if you can master your mind and if you know how to change your energy and tune into, and we can get into this more on the how
Yep.
to do this, but you can really tune into the frequency of what it is you want to have in your life. Mysterious things will happen. So a lot of the things I do now, it's really to show people, hey, I want to show you, yes, this is what I did or I created, but I want to show you how to do it and
Right.
and give you the tools to do it yourself.
I love that. I do want to unpack that. I don't want to miss this though. You have a cool Will Smith story or Uncle Phil story or something, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. So growing up, like I said, I was raised by my mother, but my godparents, who are really close friends with my mom, they lived in Atlantic City, and Uncle Phil, James Avery, his mom was next door neighbors to my godparents, and we would go over there all the time for Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I don't really have too many memories of this, but when I was a baby, Uncle Phil from Fresh Prince, James Avery, would come home to see his mom, obviously, and they would come over, and I got this pretty cool photo. You've seen it before with
Yeah, I've seen it.
with
I'm like,
with James Avery, Uncle Phil holding me as a baby, and my godparents are in the background. And so that's a pretty cool connection. I really, really on Bad Boys, I wanted to talk to Will about it,
I was gonna
but
ask you that.
it's a tricky thing when you're on set and like, Will, he's kind of rehearsing and you don't want to mess up his flow or anything, when he's on set. But one day I'll have that conversation with him, hopefully.
We'll tag him in the post.
Yeah,
We'll let
tag
him
it.
know it's on the podcast. We'll
Yeah,
send him the clip.
yeah, please do.
That's gonna call. Must be your co-star. Speaking of co-stars, though, you are the lead actor in an upcoming film, Wings. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, so we're working on a project called Wings. Like I mentioned to you before the call, we did 7 days in Kentucky, and there were hot days. We got a small crew of people, just dedicated people. It takes a miracle to really make a movie happen. To see what happens behind the scenes, it's really it takes a collaborative effort. We'll finish up most likely the end of July, and then it'll most likely come out in January. But the film is great. I'm playing a character called Marcus. He was raised by his grandmother. His grandfather happened to be a pilot growing up. And Marcus and his best friend Julia, as kids, they stumble upon his grandfather's flight journal up in the attic. And they're kind of flipping through and they find out that there was this stolen treasure from a museum. And, as kids, they're kind of just, what's this? Grandpa seems so cool. He was a pilot. Fast forward, Marcus and Julia reconnect 15 years later. And it's really about their journey of trying to find this treasure. Marcus trying to become a pilot. And with the film, I really hope it inspires people of all backgrounds to maybe pursue being a pilot or doing
Oh,
some other career path. And I think you
so have
guys
you
will like
actually
that.
flown a plane?
Say it again.
Have you actually flown a plane?
I have. I've done flight lessons in the past. Now, when we go to South Carolina, we'll be having a co-pilot most likely, since I'm not fully certified, and do some of those scenes up in the air, some of it with the green screen, but we'll be up in the air flying some of the
That's
scenes.
so exciting. So who are some of your co-stars, or who's your like main co-star?
Main co-star, her name's Maddie, and she's from Kentucky. She's a great actress. She's so professional. She actually, we had a couple little casting challenges because who was originally cast for Julia backed out 5 days before we were getting ready to film.
Oh no.
And there's so many lines, and Maddie ended up coming through 2 days before, got the script, and she was a pro. The first week, she absolutely crushed it, and she's great. She's really great.
I love that. Well, I'm excited to see that. I'm excited to see Bad Boys. I don't know what else you're going to do next, but I'm already excited to see that.
Yeah, yeah, it's good. It's a Bad Boys. Bad Boys is a good one. It's so good.
I can't believe they keep coming out with more Bad Boys. Are they talking about a 5 yet, or is that like top secret information?
I don't, I'm not in on those conversations, but from what I've seen on the internet, they might try to do a number 5 with, there's Reggie, who's a character in the film. And then also, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's Will Smith's son in Bad Boys. I think they're going to try to do a spinoff eventually. It
Okay.
seems like, well, that's a rumor. We'll see.
I love it. So these are like dreams come true for you. So like talk acting to me. You've always wanted to be an actor. How did you kind of make the transition between everything else you were doing into this?
Yeah, well, the thought came to me when my mom passed away, So I'm on this path, you can imagine. I'm on this pre-med path, I'm basically getting all of the courses done to take the MCATs, take the pre-entrance exams to go into medical school. Out of nowhere, my winter semester of junior year, my mom passes away, and it just rocked my world. It really changed my entire perspective on life. Wow, how quick it can be. And it made me question, do I want to become a doctor? Do I want to take, that whole thing? I questioned it. And I got into modeling because of one of my friends in my fraternity that I was in at Rutgers.
Mhm.
And I just had this memory as a kid because I was just thinking about my mom a lot. And I had a memory from when I was a kid. I came back inside and classic ESPN was playing and Muhammad Ali was on the screen. And my mom was in the living room and I was just hyped up. I was like, Mom, I want to box one day. And my mom, as moms do, she was like, oh, you're too handsome to do that, to get your face knocked up. Da, da, da. So I just had this memory while I was on the bus in Rutgers, and my fraternity brother was doing runway modeling. And he was like the last guy that I ever thought would do this. And I just drew up the courage to ask him, like, hey, what are you doing? Like, and he was like, dude, I think you would be perfect for this. He set me up with his agency that week. And then I hit all these runway shows all across the world within that year or two. And, it changed me. It made me realize, oh my God, like opportunities were coming out of nowhere. And I was, wow, things can happen. And I just remember also being a kid with my brothers who you met. I think you met some of my Egyptian brothers,
Oh
Omar.
yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You met some of them. So as kids, we had a camcorder, one of those
Yeah.
flip out camcorders, and we would on the weekends just make all these home videos. And I remembered that, like being so free. And I believe that we all are, we're spirits having human experiences. So
Yes.
our physical vessel, what great actors do is they're able to transform themselves. And I believe that we all are actors, like that
Mhm.
everybody is an actor. Everybody is playing a role. Just right now you're playing this role as, podcaster, but you've had other roles in your life
Right.
too. Your mother, all these different things. So I just spiritually started to identify with I'm an actor, and that's really how it started.
I love that. I also want to be an actress, by the way. We'll talk after the show about other things I'm working on, but I'm just saying it might be on my radar.
Okay.
If you see a role for me down in Atlanta, just, remember.
I got you. I got
Um, but your mom has been a huge part of this legacy journey too, and you keep her memory alive beautifully. And as someone who's experienced that parental grief, it kind of does crack you open in a different way. And we were talking before the show a little bit about my journey and losing my dads. I talk about that a lot. Like I lost my dad and my stepdad, and losing my stepdad kind of cracked open my spiritual awakening, if you will, for lack of a better word. And it seems kind of like similar things were happening to you at the time where it's like, what is life even?
Yeah. Yeah. That was really one of the biggest questions as I was, overcoming some of that grief and going through that process. What is the purpose of life? Where do we go when we die? What is God? Who is
Right.
God? Whatever. I think a lot of those questions tend to happen, and in those times of challenge and darkness per se.
Right.
And for me, that's exactly what happened. It led me into meditation and reading a lot of spiritual texts and really trying to kind of piece together, what is the truth here?
Yeah.
What is the truth? Where do we go afterwards? And a lot of spiritual texts, you talk about the Jesus Christ or the Buddhas or the Gandhis, whatever. A lot of spiritual teachers and texts talk about life being eternal,
Right.
and that we don't die, and that we are here. We are an energy, a consciousness, or a spirit per se that lives eternally.
Right.
And for me, that was very healing, beginning to understand that not only intellectually, but also practically through meditation.
So let's talk a little bit about your meditation practices and your journey with that, because this is another layer of you and all that you are. You lead meditations. Tell me what else Justin is. So many beautiful things.
Well, I believe that we are multi-dimensional beings.
Yes, that's my favorite word.
Like that we scientists, and this is almost a scientific truth or discovery. Quantum physicists are discovering that there are multiple dimensions, right? So we live in the third dimensional plane. Physical. We have length, width, and height, and everything in our three-dimensional senses, what we can pick up with our eyes and our ears and with our hands, it's 3D reality. But when we begin to start to meditate, and a simple practice is closing the eyes and placing your awareness outside of you. And what happens on a brainwave level is that they discovered is that when you start to put your awareness around you, in the space around you, just like you're going to bed at night. Like, what do you do when you go to bed at night? You close your eyes and you go into this blackness, and then you drift off and you sleep.
Yeah.
All meditation is basically letting your body fall asleep, but keeping your mind awake. So you're in between sleep, those brainwave states of being asleep and being awake. You're in the alpha, theta, and sometimes the delta brainwave states. And when you do that and you put your awareness outside of you, for me, what I've become aware of, and many teachers talk about, is that is who you truly are. You truly
Mhm.
are that energy that you're connecting to when you're in that space. You're not your body. Yes, you are your body, but you're also not your body.
Yeah.
You are the energy that's around you, that's within you. And with that, when I had that, my first group meditation experience, I had that experience where I looked up at the clock, and the clock said an hour had passed by, but it felt like eternity, but it
Mhm.
also felt like it was just one moment.
Mhm.
And it really reframed for me the concept of time, that time is a human construct, and that there, in that field, when you are becoming nobody, nowhere, no time in meditation, I'm jumping all over the place here, but when you become nobody, no place, nowhere, no time, there is no time. There is no
Right.
time in that moment. And it gives us freedom to create and be a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I love that. That's something that maybe you can speak to this. I think through my journey and where I've struggled with in the public aspect of things, for me, it always feels sometimes like I have to, like you said, like a role, like I'm playing a role versus this person that I am when I am in my meditative space, which has been a huge part of my life. And I love the way you describe it. Um, like merging those two worlds, so to speak. Like
Mhm.
I am this. I feel like love and existence when I'm in this meditative space. But going out in the world requires me to be a different version for just self-protection, survival, if nothing else. You can't be all of that. So like maybe you can speak to this topic. I think a lot of people are going through confusing healing journeys. We're all kind of dabbling in new spaces and um, awakening, if you will.
Yeah, that's the most challenging part about it, right? Is okay, after you realize this, in your meditation practice that, oh my gosh, we all are love, we all are light, energy, having a spiritual or human experience. How do we then take that experience and bring it into our lives in a day-to-day basis, right? How do we begin to embody that? And it's not enough for us to just meditate and feel this gratitude and love and connect to our future or whatever it is we want to create. And then once you open up your eyes, you start flipping off the person when you're driving, in traffic, or you're mad at your coworker. We have to begin bringing that energy and that emotional state and that mindset into our day to day. So for me personally, what I've learned from one of the greatest teachers that I've been impacted by personally, Dr. Joe Dispenza, is we do walking meditations where you start with your eyes closed, standing up, and you get into your heart. You put your awareness in your heart. You open up the heart and just feel that love. But then you walk in that state with your eyes open, and you
Mm,
walk as the healer. You walk as the person that is living their dreams. You walk as the abundant person. Whatever it is that you want, you begin to embody that. And that's exactly the energy that you need to maintain in your day-to-day life for those dreams to actually begin to appear in your life. Because
right,
if you just do it in your meditation practice and then you go about your day and you lose that energy, don't expect things to change in your life.
right.
For things to change in our lives, we have to change as well. So it really is that challenge of maintaining that internal focus throughout your day of, okay, I know that I felt this love in my heart. How can I begin to feel that and embody it with everybody around me
Right.
and through the challenges? Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely, and I love how you put it. That's been the biggest challenge for me, especially when you go out in the world and it's the people you're around sometimes too, and changing your environment. It's so true what they say about changing your environment and the people you're around, the conversations you're having, the food you're eating, everything. And that's um we sometimes I feel like we often differentiate like, well, you should eat better because it'll take care of your physical health, and you should listen to this because it'll take care of your mental health and your relational health, and it's often like separated. um for my journey's been trying to merge those. And so like losing weight, for example, I lost like a lot of weight. I didn't Not that I didn't mean to. I didn't try to. I didn't go on a diet. I didn't work out. I just started taking care of that mental and spiritual side of things and starting to allowing my body to regulate through my emotions and healing through processing and holding space for my emotions. But I'd be lying to say it's still not a challenge for me to be, is why I love these conversations, because it's challenging for me to be on in the world in the way that you kind of have to be these days. In some ways, you have to put on that role, and also have these thoughts and feelings and emotions in my space. So I'm so glad to be able to talk with you about this here and kind of normalize this conversation in some way because it's necessary.
It absolutely is because it, I think a lot of my personal perspective on like nutrition and exercising and all that has changed quite a bit because of the emotional understanding, the emotional intelligence side of things. Because you could have, somebody could have a perfect diet, they could have the personal trainer, all of those things, but if they're not dealing with the internal voice, if they're not dealing with the internal emotional state, it's like you could fix all the things on the outside, but if internally you're not feeling love for yourself or gratitude for yourself or anything like that, you're going to have a much tougher battle with trying to achieve some of those goals. And just like what you've talked about, when you started doing the mental work and the spiritual work and the emotional work, that's when things started to change as far as the weight loss and all of the other things. And I think that that's how reality works, is we start to change things from the inside, and the outside changes as well. So
I
it's
love it.
important.
So let's talk about more of that then, because you said there were some like manifestation tools and ideas, things you wanted to talk about. Um, Talk to me. I mean, I wrote down transformation coaching, but you're not actively coaching, but should I be calling it that?
Yeah, so I would consider it transformational coaching, but right now I don't work with any clients.
Mhm.
I'll be open to it in the future,
Okay.
but I have worked with people in the past in this regard. And um, the way that, let me break this down. I'll try to break it down very simply for people. So quantum physicists have discovered that okay, everything in our reality is made up of atoms. So atoms, quantum physicists have discovered, they put the atom under a microscope, right? And atoms create molecules, and molecules create chemicals, and chemicals create the structures of our bodies, right? We have a bunch of chemicals that create the proteins in our muscles. And so atoms are the base level of reality. And quantum physicists have discovered that when they put the atom under a microscope, the atom, they couldn't find it. And they found out that the atom is actually 99.9999999% space or energy. So
Hmm.
everything is energy, right?
Interesting.
Every single thing, even ourselves, we're made up of energy.
Mhm.
So our thoughts are electrical signals. So everything is energy, and our thoughts create, we know this from EEGs or brain mapping scans, that our thoughts and our brain waves create electrical pulses,
Mhm.
right? And our hearts also, they've done scans on the heart, HRV monitors, and all of that. It shows that the heart has a pattern of energy that can emit outside of us. And when the heart is open, when you're feeling love and gratitude, the heart can emit a magnetic field that goes outside of our body almost 3 meters wide. So, for people that are listening, um, you could use meditation. You can close your eyes and you can get into the field of energy around you. And you could lay down the thought of what it is that you want, whether it's abundance or a relationship or a new job opportunity. And you could have that thought in the quantum field, and that electrical signal is basically telling the universe or energy or consciousness or God, whatever you want to call it, you're saying, hey, this is what I want. And you're putting it out there with your mind. But now you have to feel with your heart the magnetic, you have to feel what it would feel like if you had that happen in your life. So
Right.
what would it feel like if you had the love of your life, or you had the new job, or the new whatever it is? You would probably feel love, you would feel freedom, gratitude.
Mhm.
And why not feel that without having it just yet? Just feel like you
Right.
already have it. That's the law of attraction. You feel like you already have it, and that's when it happens. That's when
Right.
things start to come to you. So for clients that I've worked with in the past, I would talk to them a lot about this, about the power of your thoughts and your emotions.
Mhm.
So practically, the way that looks is you would close your eyes and um, breathe very slowly. And breathing slowly helps slow down the brain waves and helps us enter into the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind, it really only, you can only enter into the subconscious mind through the alpha, delta, and theta brainwave state. And it requires us to slow down our mind, slow down our breathing. And then once you get into that state, you can have the thought of what it is that you desire, and you will feel like you already have it. You will begin opening up the heart. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So you put your awareness inside of your heart. And the research shows that when you put your energy inside your heart, the heart starts to open up and it starts to feel safe. and you start to be able to feel different elevated emotions. And on an energetic pattern, what you're doing is you're basically signaling that you already feel and believe like you have what it is that you want. And that's when the universe starts to conspire in your favor and things happen in mysterious ways.
I love that. I had to readjust. There was a lot going on my
That's
side, but you
okay.
did a great job of carrying that on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. You know all these things. How do you know all these things? What books have you read? Like, how did you go about learning this?
I recommend right now, one of my favorite books that I recommend people to right now is Becoming Supernatural by
Mm,
Dr. Joe Dispenza. It goes through the extensive research on brain scans, heart scans, HRV monitors, showing people and teaching people how to change essentially. His book, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, is also a great one. But his work is really teaching people how to use meditation to change yourself, change your energy, change your thoughts, change your emotions, and to ultimately change your life. So I that's one of my all-time favorite recommendations for people, to really get them right to the information in a coherent way. But oh gosh, Krystle, there's so many other books that I
Go
could recommend. But Becoming
ahead. List off
Supernatural,
a few.
list off a few. I definitely would recommend, if you're going through grieving, or somebody that's passed away, The Five Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware. That's a great book from a palliative care nurse who would basically sit at the bedside with people who were getting ready to pass away.
Mm,
And she would basically hear these people vent to them like, hey, I wish, these are my regrets. I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have did that. And this whole book is about those stories and basically the five regrets that she commonly heard from people that were getting ready to pass away. So
wow.
I recommend that to people. What other books? What other books? Definitely Letting Go by David Hawkins. Power versus Force by David Hawkins. These are great books on consciousness and
Mhm.
basically the scales of consciousness and how there are different levels of consciousness, right? Like where love is a very, very high frequency, and it goes through the realms of that, and it teaches people how to let go and really surrender and to be a part of life. And when we
Yeah.
start to open up and be a part of life's mystery, and we stop trying to analyze things and put our ego into things, and we really let go and surrender and become a part of life itself.
Which one
And
was this called? Because that's what I need next.
well, there's Letting Go, and then also Power versus Force by David Hawkins. But then now that we're talking about surrendering, the Surrender Experiment by Michael. Oh, what's his last name? Michael.
The fact
Surrender.
that you remember any of their names is
Let's.
impressive to me. So
Oh, Michael Singer. Michael Singer. The Surrender Experiment. Phenomenal book.
yeah,
Phenomenal book about surrendering
I will
and letting
definitely be
go.
doing all of these. I recently became someone that I was like, I would start a book, even the books behind me, like some of them are finished, not all of them. I will start a book and then I'll get distracted. I'll pick up another book. I'll be like, you know what? I need this now. I'll come back to that. And I started never finishing books. And I was like, this year, it wasn't even this year. It was like last month, maybe 2 months ago. I was like, I'm going to be somebody who finishes books because I want to be able to talk about them on my podcast. If nothing else, I need to be able to have the accurate conversation. And I started rewarding myself for the two things I felt like I lacked discipline on, which was exercise and reading. That like I needed consistently, I needed every day. So I started a little reward jar for myself where like I'll tip myself for both. If I write, I added writing later. If I read, if I write, if I exercise, or just intentionally move my body, I
Love
put
it.
like whatever loose change. So like one day I had a dime, I put a dime. This morning I went on a walk on the nature trail and I found a penny on head. So I put that in the jar.
Nice.
Um, but like then or I also put $5 in and I was like, I'm banking on you to stay consistent this week. Here's $5. You take it out, self accountability.
Yes, yeah, I love it. Love it. You got to celebrate. You got to
Yeah.
celebrate. It's
Yeah.
so important. It's so important to recognize yourself. Like especially when like you're a high achiever, high performer, and you're doing all, a lot of things going on in life. I think it's so important to like take a time. I go on dates with myself all the time. I just finished up reading this book called The Artist's Way, and I
Mm,
recommend this for any type of everybody. I recommend it for everybody because I think we're all creative beings. But if you're in the creative space, whether it's acting or directing or writing, I recommend The Artist's Way. And this book talks about one of the tools is the artist date. And it's
mm.
basically taking yourself out 2 to 4 hours a week, spending time with yourself, nobody else, and doing what nourishes your creative side and really celebrating life. And I think it's so important. It really
I
is.
love that. Yeah, I do too. And that's one of the things I've realized, especially as I've leaned more into my career being a creative career and me being just a creative person and learning like kind of how to separate the water from the well. Like I'm always having to be in creative mode and I don't always feel like I want to be in creative mode. So like how do I nurture myself enough and nourish myself enough that like I can do especially like the business side of things too. Like I can do the business side of things and I can be in creative mode and I can make sure that my mental health and wellness is good and I can be on. So I've been like allowing myself. I had a conversation with someone that he said I just allow myself to meditate, pray or create like anytime I feel inspired to do those things.
Mm,
And some of us have more flexible lives than others, but I kind of adapted that. Like, if I need to meditate at 2 o'clock or whatever, any time of day, then that's what I need to do. And if I need to create something different, that's not something I create for work. If I need to create for Krystle, if I need to paint, that's never going to see the light of the internet, that's what I need to do. And I'm realizing it's not, I used to feel like, oh my God, you're not working, you shouldn't be doing those things, you have to be working, but like those things have been fueling my work because now I'm balanced and I'm creating from a healthier place.
mm. Beautiful. Yeah, it's so important as an artist creative to have balance, to allow yourself grace when you have those hunches, those intuitions of like, oh, I should meditate, or oh, I should create this,
Right.
because sometimes it doesn't seem productive, but it actually is very productive because it gives you that inspiration or that fuel for the next thing that you're creating. And it's
Yeah.
so important. It really
Well,
is.
just space to think, for the
Yeah.
idea to happen, for the connections to happen, to clear the
Mm.
space. Okay, so I have to ask you the question I ask everybody. When do you feel like the coolest person in the world?
When do I feel like the coolest person in the world? Huh. Um, I feel like the coolest person on the world when I'm on a movie set, when I'm working and I'm seeing all the just waking up in this dreamland, because movies are that's why I'm so passionate about the film industry, is because movies create this atmosphere that it's really like its own universe, where you can create things that you couldn't necessarily do in normal society without getting arrested.
Right.
You movie feel, or like the movie set gives people permission in a container to do really cool things, in a safe space. So for me, yeah, it would probably be on a movie set. Yeah.
I love that. Do you see yourself directing or writing or anything?
Yeah, that's definitely in the future. I do have some ideas for some scripts that I want to start working through, and now that with this role with Wings, I'm really getting to kind of see some of the back end of things, with talking with the producers and the executive producers, and okay, how does this work logistically with budgeting and with getting the cast together. So now I'm really starting to understand the full scope of things, and I am wanting to become a director at some point and really have creative control over what it is I create. Yeah. So in the
Well,
future, I had somebody ask me, okay, how do you get into acting? And
right.
I was like, okay, what do I say here? And I went back and said, the first thing you have to do is you have to believe you're an actor. It's the
Mm.
first thing you have to do before you get a role, before you get anything, before you get your headshots, reel, whatever it is. You have to start identifying internally that you already are an actor. And I think that's such a big point, an important point to identify with. And then once you start doing that, opportunities start to come, and acting classes come, and all of those things will come after the identification. Yeah.
So in your visualization you were talking about in the beginning, and we can kind of wrap it up with this way.
Yep.
Um, how did you visualize you being an actor? What did it look like? What did it feel like? What did it smell like? What was that for you?
Huh.
Embodying this actorness. This actorness. I just made up that word.
Well, the way I kind of tune into it, there's one of the Spider Verse with Miles Morales. I'm sure your kids are maybe fans of
We
it,
love
but
that
it's
movie.
yeah with Sony Pictures that won an Academy Award, and I really identify with Miles Morales being mixed, and
Mhm.
that character has he's got superpowers, but with Spider-Man, people love Spider-Man because he's a human, but he also kind of has powers. But like you see the human side of him with him trying to like have courage and overcome fears. But I try to tune into that. I tune into what if I got to play Miles Morales in the live action of Spider-Man, one of the biggest um, Spider-Verse, biggest Spider-Man films of all time. What if I would be able to be a part of that and be able to inspire all these kids, all this youth that can resonate with me because of how I look. And I try to tune into that. Not to say that I'm going to get that role, but I tune into that really high potential. Like, oh my gosh, what would it be like if I landed that role and I was able to inspire a bunch of people. And that's what I tune into. I try to tune into that, and I would feel so much love and being able to shake hands with people and meet all these people and just make the youth's lives and inspire them to let them know that they can make their dreams happen. That's what I tune into when I do tune into being an actor. Yeah.
I love it. That was the most beautiful answer I wasn't ready for. And
Yeah.
I totally see it as Miles Morales. Like I can see this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. I hope it happens. But that's what I tune into.
I can appreciate that. So is there anything I didn't ask you that you really want to share with the world? This is an open platform.
Um, no, no. I think we covered most of the things. I'll just leave people off with. Um, I believe we've been uh, conditioned and almost hypnotized to believe that we're not powerful.
Mm,
And for the people that are listening, I just want you to know that you are powerful beyond your understanding. And what I mean by that is you are so powerful that you can create an event, an experience, a job, a relationship, abundance, whatever it is, you can create through thought alone. Just by having a thought combined with the emotion of feeling like you already have what it is that you desire, you can create. And I just want to let the listeners know that you have a lot of power in yourself, in your own energy. And if you can begin to master your own energy through looking within
yeah.
at those unconscious thoughts, unconscious emotions, saying, who do I want to be? How would greatness show up? How would I show up if I truly loved my life? How would I show up if I was abundant, if I had all my needs met? How would you show up in the world? And start your day off with that question and begin walking in that energy. I promise you, miracles will start to happen. You'll witness things beyond your belief, and
Yeah.
just keep doing that. And I just want to let listeners know that they're powerful.
I love it.
Everybody's powerful.
And you are you are living that in real life. We're watching it. So tell listeners where they can watch it. Where can we follow you?
I think the main, probably on Instagram, would be the most intimate connection you could have, like with me, like on social media. So I would say that, or Facebook. Just I am Justin Rice for all of those. And then my website is thejustinrice@gmail.com. And that's pretty much, but people can definitely connect with me on Instagram. I try to get back to people reaching out on there.
I love it. I'll just piggyback on what you said real quick. I posted about this a while ago, but maybe about like 18 months or so ago, I was talking to my friend and trying to lead into this understanding of what it looks like to use your thoughts power and manifest your life and create a life you desire. And a large part of what people are seeing in my life where they're like, you've changed a little bit, something's changed, is that like, is really believing little by little by little. Like it didn't happen overnight. It was definitely an incremental thing. And I'm still every day like challenged to stay in alignment with the thoughts that I want to be having. But maybe like 18 months ago, I just said to my friend, I was in the middle of a thought and I said, just going forward, I'm not going to preface any more of my conversations with, this might sound crazy, but I'm just going to start saying the crazy thing. Okay.
Mhm.
Like, and don't question it.
Yes. Things get crazy,
Yeah.
like there is some type of intelligence that's like aware of us, like some people call it Jesus, some people call it God. Like there's something that
Right.
knows
Who
what it
knows where
is that we want, and it will reflect back to you who you're being, right? And so it's so magical.
I might launch, you know what? I'm going to use that. I have this shirt idea. So I have these shirts that they're all podcast shirts, but they're like AF, but like healing as fuck, ready as fuck. Legendary, multidimensional is one of them. But one of the other shirts I've been sitting on, which I'll release when I release this, is DI is greater than AI. So divine intelligence over artificial
Love
intelligence.
it, love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Wow, that's good. That's good. Yeah, we need some more of that in the world,
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. We do.
Justin, thank you so much for being on. This is a beautiful conversation. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Krystle. I appreciate you too. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Coolest People in the World podcast with Krystle J. Bailey. Visit us online today at thecoolestpeoplepodcast.com.